In search of a frickin' hero. Ernigan trudged along, head bowed, hand resting on his donkey's bridle, as much for support as guidance. The full animal probably knew the way better than he did at this point. He coughed into his sleeve, choking on the dust of the caravan a short distance ahead of him, hating the clear blue sky and the bright, shining sun and the green-leafed trees that lined each side of the broad dirt road. This area of Biddlebottom was the type fools wrote poems about. Perfect and pristine, where everyone loved their neighbor and no one ever did a thing wrong to anyone. And by gum, by gosh, if something went wrong, everyone gathered around to pitch in and help out. The perfect location to find a hero. He hawked and spat out the dust, clogging the back of his throat, glaring at the wagons of the caravan ahead. He was too poor to actually ride with them, but he'd figured out, about 10 years into this ridiculous quest, that if he stayed behind them, head low, never making any sort of move the guards might consider a threat, that he could trail along behind and be just as safe as if he were part of the caravan. Only disadvantage was the damned dust. The donkey quickened its pace and he shuffled to keep up. When he'd started out those 20-odd years ago, he'd had a fine, beautiful horse that he rode proudly, staring down at the world from on high. He'd lost it 3 months in to a band of hooligans outside Trace. That was the first time he turned his sights towards the Biddlebottom region. What a disappointment that trip had been. He'd followed the medallion right to a preacher with 6 sons and 7 daughters, who couldn't for the life of him believe that there was a higher calling than to be a pillar of his community. Words like end of the world and last hope and world's greatest evil didn't move the man a bit. At least the preacher had offered Ernigan a nice bed and a warm meal before politely suggesting he move along. Ernigan peered ahead, shading his eyes against the bright sunlight. He could just make out the thatched roofs of the next town, if it could even be called a town. Unless it disappeared over a hillside, it looked to only have 10, maybe 20 buildings all told. He sighed. Ugh. Chances were this wasn't his destination. But he never really knew until he was right upon the chosen one. Only then did the medallion turn ice cold against his skin and start to glow a blue so intense it was downright embarrassing.